the Prison City Podcast. When the bars go up, you're officially locked in.
And welcome to the Prison City Podcast. I am your unofficial host, Patrick Cutler. We have a very exciting show here today. Let's just wrap around the panel really quick, get everybody introduced here right off the bat. And first, we're going to go to Mahomes. Speak up and introduce yourself, Mahomes.
Yes, really excited. Episode 4. Everyone from that last episode, I know it was a little heavy. So the topic this week is going to be the first time we experienced a death of a loved one.
And with that said, we're going to kick it around to, it's listed as Jace Feldy. Not sure why it's listed as Jace Feldy, but his name is actually Kelly Cutler. Go ahead, speak into the mic, sir.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the podcast as well. Nice to see Mahomes is back after last week. I really didn't think we'd see you again.
And we're going to kick it to our fourth panel of the day here, who's now calling himself Kelly Cuts, which is totally original. Go ahead, speak into the mic, Jay Marsh.
I honestly debated hitting stay muted just to see how long I could play it off as Pat did it wrong. But how's everyone doing?
Good. And here for tonight, we have a very special guest here. His name is Anthony Savalla, goes by Tony. Just a little background on him. The real story about him is a very long time ago, and you guys can clarify this more as you know more about the story. Cutler Brothers Productions is a theater that we run here in our small town, Deer Lodge, Montana. CutlerBrothers.com. You want to check it out. So we've run this very small theater in rural Montana, doing this for almost 20 years now. And what happened was one day we came across this guy and we're like, hey, does your daughter want to be in theater productions? And she jumped right in. They all jumped in and they got very heavily involved in the theater here in our local town of Montana. And Tony himself, he does a lot of construction stuff, a very good carpenter, a great guy. He does a lot of things like that. He's built a ton of sets and everything else for our theater, done a ton of work. But without any more talking here, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, Tony, if you want to step up to the mic.
Good evening, everyone. Patrick, thank you for that introduction. Honestly, I've been called worse, so Anthony or Tony, that's just fine. Hopefully, none of the things I've been called at the theater come to light. Yeah. So, thanks for that little backstory there. I think how we actually met and got involved. There's a little more to that story than what you led on to, but that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. So, what was or Kelly? I'll kick it to you real quick. What was the story of how he they all got involved? If you want to go ahead and tell that story real quick with more accuracy than I could.
Well, I knew Tony before we met his daughter, Izzy. She was, I believe, 5 years old, one of the youngest actresses. I don't know if she was clarified as a lead or not in that show, Miracle on 34th Street. But we must have met Tony at some event downtown. It was like a parade or something. And Butch, our dad, just saw them across the street. My mom had been talking about Izzy for a while. She's kind of our children's actors advocate or recruiter or whatnot. So, Butch just sees him, goes across the street and says, hey, we want your daughter to star in this play. And then that December she played, it's going to escape me, but was it Susan? Do you remember, Tony?
She played Susan in A Miracle on 34th.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that, gentlemen.
Yeah,
that's all right. So he ran across. Our dad ran across and just said, hey, does she want to be on a show? And she had a ton of lines and stuff in that show, a ton of lines. And I believe she was only 5. And she killed it. And then they've been involved ever since. Lewis, his son, got involved. And I also knew Lewis from teaching music at the grade school. I had both of his kids. And so we had parent-teacher conferences and stuff like that. And then I resigned from teaching. And now Tony's seen the dark side.
Yeah, that was a really interesting day. Technically, it was homecoming parade that was going on, and for all of us Deer Lodge natives here, we know how big a homecoming parade can be, banging culverts, floats, trailers, the whole 9 yards. Definitely came as a surprise. Butch comes running across the street and he says, "Hey, I want your daughter." Thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so how much are, little blonde hair, blue eye girls going for on the black market nowadays?
See, he's going to fit right in.
Hey, he's just speaking of, homecoming and banging culverts, man. Mahoney, you can tell some stories of the things you banged during homecoming, right?
I could, but no one likes to kiss and tell. And anyway, here we are. We're just let's focus on the fact that your dad was screaming across the street about wanting a little girl right in front of his dad. Her dad. Excuse me. I think that's a better story.
All right, let's kick it to J. Mars. What did you bang during homecoming?
Nothing good. Not a lot of town in Deer Lodge, boys.
All right, we're gonna get back on track here.
Oh, that's rough. It's cold.
So Tony, the city council, just joking.
We're just all over the place. Okay, so
I don't even want to walk through that joke in that door.
Oh.
So Kelly, just before we get back on track, I know you obviously were a music teacher, so you got to see a bunch of talented kids. Did parents ever get weirded out when you said, "Hey, I think your kid's really talented"? Really talented. Did they ever get weirded out, especially because you always said it just like
that? Yeah, and that's probably why I resigned after 4 years. A lot of lawsuits.
So you got this.
When I left, they paid me out like I was a 30-year teacher. They're like, "Please go."
So back to the story. There's this crazy, yeah. You cut off there a little bit. I don't think the audience really wanted to hear that last part.
Oh, apparently not. Yeah, I'll go fuck myself.
Oh, that was clear.
That one was very clear, by the way.
Yeah. America heard that one. That was very good.
So this crazy
I'm sorry,
guy.
did the big guy say something down there?
Which big guy?
Yeah. That one.
The goofy one that says go. No.
So this crazy guy is yelling at you and your daughter, and you're thinking what at this point?
Well, I knew something was up. To bring a little bit more perspective to this story here. So that previous summer, Izzy had graduated kindergarten. Rising Star Theater Academy had just wrapped up, I believe it was their third or fourth theater camp since starting. They did Bye Bye Birdie. And Izzy actually was involved with that. Little rabbit hole backstory there. I went to go sign my son Lewis up, who is a couple years older than Izzy, and she just happened to be with me. And Kelly, you probably recall this a little bit because I approached you and I'm like, "Hey, Lewis wants to sign up. How much? Yada, yada, yada." We had our talk. And then you looked at me and you looked down at Izzy and you said, "What about her?" And I'm like, "Well, she's not old enough by the rules." And he's like, "Oh, hell, can she listen and follow directions?" I'm like, "I suppose. I don't know. I'm a parent. My kids never listen to me anyways, so I'm not sure." But they gave her a shot. And because of that, and just the roles that she had in Rising Star Theater Academy's production of Bye Bye Birdie, that brought interest to Jerry Ann Cutler, who was heading up the casting for Miracle. And that kind of got the ball rolling on all of this. So I knew something was up. I gotta say,
that was 2016, I believe, just to put that in perspective, because 5 years later they've been involved with countless shows. It's ridiculous. Your kids have probably been involved with more shows than most kids in town. But
yeah, just to cut in here really quick, backstory that's a great story there. When it comes to Bye Bye Birdie, we've been doing kids camps here for a long time, and we've used that as a recruiting funnel to get people, like Mahoney knows, mahogany. He
gosh,
knows.
Here we go again.
He knows. He knows the sales funnel process, and that's kind of been a little bit of a funnel for us to get people involved in theater at an early age, and then when they get older, they become part of more and more big shows, as Tony has seen. Crazy thing is, just a little backstory here is I've been living in Alaska. The audience that probably doesn't know this, I've been in Alaska I was up in Alaska for 10 straight years in a village in the bush, and I was a teacher, and I'd come down during the summers with my kids, and my oldest daughter was actually involved in Bye Bye Birdie. That was her first show to got her involved, and I remember that show so clearly because she was involved and Izzy was involved, and they were part of this trio or this group of these sunflower kids or whatever, sunshine kids, however you want to call it, and they had their own dance moves and everything else. It was just a really cool thing because I don't think she was at of age at that time either, but we kind of just say heck with it, we'll take your money either way, right?
Oh, that's just something about Deer Lodge there. We love to take people's money. I've learned that more and more from the city council side. No, I'm kidding. being involved in politics, I see that all the time.
Yeah, but most people take the money and no one knows about it, and that's called embezzling.
So almost like you were trying to raise money for a new roof and end up getting a new car or something like that.
I hope Ark May East say isn't Oching Way is they.
This video never gets out to the Rising Star board.
This is actually a Rising Star meeting.
Yeah.
What?
Just to fill in our audience that's watching from Zimbabwe right now, Rising Stars is a nonprofit community theater board that we've created so we can get grants and stuff and then funnel the money back to Cutler Brothers Productions, just a private company.
And for all the lawyers listening on your way to work, that's a joke. That's not actually true.
Well, somebody's phone's going to be blowing up tomorrow. No, you know what? That was really great getting the opportunity to get the kids involved with that, and leading forward to where we left off with Al running across the street. We ended up, we talked with Al and Jerry Ann, and we just said, hey, get us a script, let us look it over. Obviously, Izzy just starting first grade, she's still young, she's still kind of getting the fundamentals of reading down and things like that. So we were a little skeptical at first in regards to how much this kid can handle. My wife and I took some time, we read over the script. Izzy was in with us as well, and we had a serious talk, and we asked her, it's like, is this something you're comfortable committing to? Do you honestly think that you can put forth the effort and the work to do this? And she said yes. From that point, let me just fast forward here a little bit. So we went through Miracle. Miracle was an absolutely amazing show. There was such a good cast. I always got to give Cutler Brothers Theater props for their casting. Their casting is just top notch. There's been numerous times I've seen people cast in certain roles, and I'm sitting there scratching my head thinking, okay, these guys were half in the bag when they were casting it, because there's no way this is going to work. But they're always just amazing productions, and the casting is spot on.
Yeah, just to cut in here really quick. Kelly, can you give just a little bit of background on Miracle on 34th Street, just some statistics like the year it was done, the attendance, the reception, all those juicy details on that play?
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of factoids on that. Miracle on 34th Street was actually our first Christmas show ever, and I never really wanted to do a Christmas show. Our mom, Jerry Ann Cutler, kind of pushed for it, and I was like, man, it's hard enough to get people in June, July, August. Nobody's going to come out with 4 feet of snow on the ground and stuff like this. But it was attended very well. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I would say 350, 400, maybe even 450 people came to that show. It was really well attended, especially for a straight show. That's insane. And the other little factoid I wanted to say was I bet you that is the most lines. Actually, I would put $1,000 on that's the most lines that anybody of that age, 5 years old, has ever had to memorize. It was ridiculous. I kind of had my doubts and things like that, but she came out and she nailed it, and she's been corrupted ever since.
Just one more thing here, just for our listeners are listening from Bangladesh right now. If you could put in perspective for them the 350 to 400 people per show, what that kind of means for our production company and everything.
Well, for a straight show, a non-musical, again, I would say that we've done 20 some of those, maybe 30 straight shows in our history, and it's definitely in the top. It's definitely in the top 10, probably in the top 5. I mean, it really was well attended. And the year on that was also 2016. I mentioned that earlier, but it was well attended for a straight show, especially in December. And we have 2,000 people in this town, not counting the prison, right? Prison City podcast. And they don't really attend our shows very often, but we have to depend.
When they do, it's incognito.
Yeah. We weren't going to do like a Johnny Cash type of thing with Miracle on 34th Street and 28 kids in it. But we depend heavily on Butte, Anaconda, Helena, all these surrounding cities. And yeah, they came through, and that's big for us. You know, it might not sound like it, but we're in the middle of nowhere. So to get that many people is damn good.
I'm gonna do
for those unfamiliar with the term straight show, or with kind of what he's talking about in theater. So there's kind of a straight show is the opposite of a comedy, right? A comedy's got to laugh a minute. A straight show is a little more emotional, a little more serious. So those, I would say those are kind of the two. That there's other ones, but if you wanted to classify, one's a straight show, one's a comedy. So if you aren't familiar with that terminology, that's what he's talking about.
One more point I want to go into for our fans in the middle of Iraq right now. They're fighting a war. Kelly mentioned prison. It's a prison. You're listening to the Prison City podcast. Obviously, a lot of people are still wondering what does that mean. This is a very good point, and I think Mahoney knows exactly where I'm going with this. You talk about the tents, it's 2,000 people. Yeah, he knows, almost like a side joke about the prisoners not coming to watch our show, but we were actually doing shows inside the old Montana State Prison. And you folks out there that are listening from South Africa, imagine a small little theater inside a prison. This because there used to be an actual theater inside the prison, and there's a gun port, and there'd be a guy there with a gun that was pointing a gun towards the prisoners. The prisoners would sit there and they're changing everything and watch the actual play. Well, once they got a new prison out of town, they had this old prison and it turned into a museum. And the start of Cutler Brothers Productions actually happened in this theater called the Gunport Theater inside an old prison. We do these shows in front of a decent sized cast or crew or whatever, or audience. And you have some stories about that, right, Mahoney?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that could probably fill like 2 podcasts, but the basis of it was that the three of us, Pat, Kelly, and me, young at the time. I think Pat may have just finished high school, and we were still going into our senior year, if my timing's correct. Mm-hmm. And there was a theater company at the time, which is now defunct because no one can compete with us in anything. I say that somewhat in jest, but really, we killed their company. And so we really went in not. Like, we had an idea that we believed that we could make something that was worthwhile. We believed there was a script that Kelly and I think both Kelly and Pat had worked on that we knew was going to be funny. And we just basically said, we went in and talked with the director of the old prison museum. We pitched him, we probably kind of lowballed ourselves a little bit, and they took it. And then we went in, the three of us, and gutted it out and repainted and rebuilt everything. And I mean, that's kind of the foundation of where everything's at now.
I'm gonna kick it back to the Tony here really quick. How would you describe kind of that? Because this first initial play that your daughter was in and your son was in was inside the old Montana State Prison. How would you kind of describe that atmosphere?
Well, once you got past the armed guard that was holding everybody there, it was actually kind of comfortable.
Yeah, we're gonna get back on track. One last story though. So when we did plays inside this old Montana State prison. This prison, they do ghost tours and stuff in there. It's known to be haunted and everything else. We had the keys to this place, and what a lot of people don't know is we would break in there at night with these keys and do our own ghost tours, and we saw some very scary stuff in there. It was really bizarre. Anyways, Jay Marsh, if you haven't fallen asleep now, how would you like to weigh in on all of this so far?
So I mean, so first off, I'm here that Kelly may have embezzled a little bit for 2 cars. Then breaking and entering, some good
Well,
like way to admit to your crimes on a podcast.
We had the keys. We had the keys.
We had the keys, and even if it was breaking and entering, like that happened a long time ago, statute of limitations. I think we know what we're doing. Admitting to crimes.
Seriously, someone forgot something in there one time. We forgot the keys within the theater. So we literally broke into a prison. Like literally launched somebody, my good friend, he's not here anymore. He works out in Detroit. We launched him over the prison wall to get to the other side and break into the actual prison.
Yeah, we had the keys to the prison and we had the keys to the vault. So I don't think these are really crimes.
Well, like to elaborate on the old prison, it's like a small castle, like 25-foot walls, all like rock wall built, very easy to climb. How'd you guys get down? Or was it like the backside fence?
So there's like a gift shop and there's a little facade awning there on the gift shop. We put each other on each other's backs, launched the person onto the awning, and from the awning they kind of climbed up over the wall. And this is so long ago, this is a crazy story, but they climbed on the wall and then they went down on the backside of that. I don't know how they got down the backside, to tell you the truth. I really don't know.
I mean, and this is before people had like camera systems like everyone has in their homes now. So like that shit would never fly these days.
Well, cat's out of the bag now. Hamesh over in Bangladesh he's probably gonna be heading this way just to break into the prison now. You told him exactly how to get in.
I like how this is kind of turned into our geography episode too. That's kind of neat, you know?
I know. Let's see how many countries can we name in one podcast.
We're about to hit. We're all with the deer lodge. We hit 9 countries and we're done.
Just to loop it around too. The last show we did in there before this Bye Bye Birdie was in 2011. That was Annie. But other than that, we didn't do anything in there since 2008. And to loop it around back to Mr. Savalla here, 2016 Bye Bye Birdie was the first show we did at the Gunport Theater since like old school Cutler Brothers, which I put at 2003 to 2008. And I think that's the last one we've done there as well, was Bye Bye Birdie. Maybe the last one ever after someone watches this podcast.
Well, it's just funny. Like most places, like people are trying to escape prison, and we're trying to break into prison.
and someone we know got married in that same prison.
Yeah, how did that end up?
Like most prison marriages.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
God, I forgot. God, we got so many stories from that place. Sorry for taking your space tonight, Tony, but we got so many.
No, that's all right. I was curious about hearing about the honeymoon in cell block C.
So no, this. Oh God, he brings up a. Geez, here we go again. This is the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper here, folks. So I actually got married inside a prison. People are.
Who'd have thunk?
That might be a very hard thing to understand for a lot of people, that why someone would choose to get married inside a prison. The backstory is too long on that, but so we had this big dance floor inside this this jail, or the jail yard is where people walk around, usually this old prison, or where big dance floor, a ton of fun, open bar. And going back to like the honeymoon inside the prison or whatever, my cousins actually, I don't know how to say this appropriately, they snuck off during, one of my cousins and his wife snuck off during.
No, I heard cousins.
I heard cousins too. All right.
Well, maybe they were cousins. They actually went to one of the cell blocks or whatever, one of the cells inside that prison, and fornicated.
Oh.
And if you look at cell 27E, you could still see some of his dried semen on one of the bars.
I'm sorry, but I think if you walk through that place with the black light, you're gonna see a lot of semen everywhere. Just saying. When you're locked up and you got a lot of time on your hands, there's more than just time in your hands.
Yeah. You know,
The whole world, right?
it's just one last point. I was like, it's just funny. Like I got handed a divorce papers. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Then I found out like 6 months later, did you know so-and-so fucked in the cell block during your wedding? What the fuck?
I like how you were like delicately searching for a way to say had sex, and then you just say fuck like 10 times in a row.
Not like say fuck, but yelled fuck.
Welcome to the Prison City Podcast, folks.
So Tony, back to your
Where were
kids doing theater.
That's fucking around in cell block C.
God, that was a tad bit of a detour there.
Yeah, sorry, to bring it full circle, Tony, is that how your kids were conceived?
The story the entire time was actually about Tony.
Tony's our cousin.
We don't talk about those skeletons. Some skeletons need to stay buried.
That semen stain on the cell block looked like a skeleton.
You know how many days it took me to write my name on the wall?
Now, did you go for Tony or Anthony?
Anthony. All in Old English.
So Tony, the economics of Deer Lodge City Council, you are
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I'm not even going to say the joke that just came to my head.
Oh,
So,
I mean, if we're gonna make that awkward transition to city council, what's been your favorite sex scandal on city council so far?
Those minutes haven't been posted yet, so I'm not at liberty to disclose that.
Fair. That's fair.
Okay. All right, guys. This is like we're a car trying to go from A to B, and we just had 5,000 different train wrecks along the way.
Yeah, like all 4 tires blew.
We'll get there. We'll let the host get us back on track.
Yeah. Let him figure it out.
Back to what
All
we're
right, Pat, bring it full circle for us, buddy.
I like we say bring full circle, then we go on another detour. The circle is a detour.
Roundabout.
Yeah, it's like one of those roundabouts in Missoula. You never take the right fucking exit. We're not going to do that tonight either.
Pat, you
I
actually
feel like I'm in NASCAR when I'm driving one of those things. Turn.
we're at the point right now where you can probably say you're first to wrap things up, so we can have another hour to go.
I always say the first wrap to give you some input there. Tony, I always say to wrap things up, and then we usually go at least 45 more minutes.
just so you know.
So back to the Las Vegas Knights, am I right?
Jeez, he's got amnesia. He's back with the conversation with Derek Richards
Call
2
back.
weeks ago.
Call back.
All right, but seriously, so theater, you're doing theater, Miracle on 34th Street happens, and you keep progressing. So how did you transition, I guess I would say, from just kind of having your daughter and son in place to basically building full sets by yourself?
That's a great question, Pat. Here's the thing. After Miracle was done, I had mentioned earlier, Izzy had just started first grade. She wasn't even through the first semester.
Sorry,
Miracle wraps up, and the transformation that I seen in my 5-year-old daughter at that time, with her academics, her intellect, just how that show and working with everybody in that show brought her out of the shell. It really struck a big chord with me. I've actually become a very big advocate of getting young children involved in theater, just because of the results I've seen with my daughter. But in light of all that, my son decided to follow suit with joining on with Cutler Brothers as well. Now, he had done Rising Star in the past. We also did some shows with Stage Left, another theater company that was in town here as well, and Missoula.
Wrong. Boo. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I just want to go on one point though. It's like when it comes to America 34th Street, you talked about, she's first grader. Obviously, she can't fully read everything. So, like, how in the world were you able to help her like memorize all those lines?
Oh, there's no way I could have done it by myself. Absolutely not. My wife was a huge help as well. I think part of it helped too is the cast that she had to work around. Now she had at the time it was Aaron Franzen, now Aaron Jewell, and Stuart Jewell and Kyle Gillette. And the three of them spent a lot of time together in various scenes, and they were a huge help keeping Izzy's interest in it, just doing whatever magic they do. Obviously, there's a lot of help from the director as well, and the rest of the Cutler family. So by no means can I take credit for it. It was just a lot of chunking it out. We would go over parts, the little bits here and there as we go along, and we review what they went through in rehearsals. We'd be like, well, tell us some of your lines, and we'd be looking at the book at the same time. So I mean, it wasn't easy. It made for some long nights. It actually corrupted the hell out of my daughter, and as you've seen, she was totally molesting the top of my head earlier. Thank you, Kelly Cutler. I blame that all on you, and you're gonna burn in hell. But no, we made it through there.
Yeah, she again, it just blows my mind that she was 5 years old and she did that. And again, she didn't really have much experience before that besides Bye Bye Birdie. And that story you told earlier at the Gunport Theater, you had asked her and she's like, I don't know if I want to be in front of people. She came off as a very shy person, and I think that's I've ever seen her act shy, because she just had the projection, she had the stage presence. She wasn't like most kids, she wasn't like waving at her parents in the audience or whatever. She just like nailed it. And I think that says something about young kids, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. They can retain so much stuff, and we don't give them that much credit. We just think they're like freaking, the house pet or something where they can't do much, but that's so false,
Hey, look what I got here.
Oh wow! Oh, the calendars we couldn't sell. I'm just kidding. I love that. I love that.
About? I got a whole case of them right here. There's that show right there. Yeah, amazing.
You ever watch that movie, A Phenomenon, with John Travolta? So he's obsessed with this girl or whatever, and she has this crafter. She has these crafted out chairs or whatever, and she sells them she sells all her chairs every week, and eventually they start kind of getting together and getting serious or whatever, and she finds out that John Travolta was the guy that literally bought every single chair from her. Now we have Tony Savalla. Yeah, we sold a lot of calendars. Yeah, 90 of them went to him.
I got to do what I got to do to keep the doors open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not the only person in Deer Lodge that's stashing shit without people knowing. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not talking politics.
So moving on from there, man, your son Lewis is extremely talented as well, and he's done some crazy stuff. In fact, he's a freshman in high school, right? And he could probably start doing improv and stuff like that. To go back to the Gunport Theater, Mahoney, Pat, and myself, we started doing improv shows basically at his age in one of our friend Matt Freeze's basement. So I'm always like, no, this kid shouldn't be hearing like these dirty jokes and these F words and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, shit,
You've met his mother, so it's okay.
He's our age when we started, man.
Hey, no, I like to chime in there what Tony just said. Yeah, the greatest thing is it's recently just this St. Patrick's Day parade, and when they're so involved with Cutler Brothers Productions that their parents don't even know they're in a parade, that's a whole new level there.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that Cutler Brother Production has just like dropped something on the blue and it's like, hey, can you show up and do this? Yeah, we started 5 minutes ago. Okay, see you there.
That's how we roll, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. You're doing plays. You're building up things and whatnot with Cutler Brothers Productions and our theater and everything. And we're still talking about the transition from Miracle on 34th Street to how things kind of ended up today. So you want to continue on that story, and I will not cut you off this time.
Yep. So pretty
We're
much
gonna,
that opened
we're
the
gonna
door
wrap
there.
things up here.
Wrap things up here in 5 minutes, guys.
I've got a ball gag. I'm gonna come over there and wrap something up, buddy. Might even bring the leather jacket too.
Oh,
Are you-
let's not go there.
Are you putting a condom on him? I'm not sure what you're wrapping up.
His mouth.
This is like the worst conversation going on next to the most innocent conversation.
Oh, my God.
Hey, 4-lane highway. Just keep it going. Whatever happens.
All one ways, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. So Miracle opened the door. That following regular theater season, and what I mean by regular theater season is typically from about March or April through August time is typically Cutler Brothers regular theater season that they would do anywhere from 2 to sometimes 4 shows in a season, depending. My son Lewis became involved in what was the first big Cutler Brothers show that you guys did?
It was,
was it?
Beauty and the Beast.
Was it Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah,
Yes.
2017.
Because I came back to be in that because I knew we would set the record.
Yep. So he got involved with Beauty and the Beast, and at the time, I believe he was a 4th grader, I think. Is that about right? 4th grade?
Fourth or fifth. That was 2017, so 4 years ago. Yeah, I guess he's a freshman, fifth grader, I believe. But the story about him.
Point being,
he was Cogsworth.
Yep. So point being, he got wrapped into the role of Cogsworth after originally being casted as just an ensemble member. And to clarify for our viewers out there what ensemble is the ensemble is pretty much a lot of the people that you see in the background. Like if you have a city scene and you have people walking by shops, and pushing a baby stroller, and, it's just all those people that help create the background scene that's going on wherever you're at. So that is the ensemble. Not to mention all the other people that are out there dancing in musicals. So he was originally cast for that ensemble. And then somebody got the bright idea to say, hey, let's make this guy a 50-year-old prude clock named Cogsworth.
Not to cut you out there, Tony. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but you're dead wrong there, my friend.
How old was Cogsworth?
No, I'm saying this. Because I was obsessed with Bye Bye Birdie. I thought it was a great show. My first impression of Lewis was in that show. He had a ton of lines. Do you remember that show? I know it's a junior production, but my gosh, that he had the leading role essentially in Bye Bye Birdie, and I thought I was impressed for his age and not being on stage. I was very impressed. He did such an amazing job.
Yeah.
Well,
Pat,
it was him, Jericho
right.
Majerison, and oh my gosh,
Dane Thompson was in
Dane,
it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I'm not calling you a liar, but no.
I'm not calling. That was a Rising Star production, which Pat's right. He had a shit ton of lines in that. But his first Cutler Brothers, which we call the main stage, Explosion, what was Cogsworth, and again, that was all adults were cast as like the supporting and leading roles, everyone except for Lewis, and that's because somebody had quit the show. And that's another beautiful thing is like if somebody quits the show, it's been happening in history, we always end up with the best cast somehow. People thought I was crazy when I mentioned that. Like, hey, how about this fifth grader? He's really talented. I had him in class. He played the genie in Aladdin. And,
that was he was in like kindergarten or first grade when he did that one.
Yeah, and he freaking. I was just like, I know he can do this. I know it's a weird thing, but he can do this, and he did.
But what? I'll go back to the Bye Bye Birdie. So you're telling me that was Lewis's first show was Bye Bye Birdie acting?
No.
Okay.
No. Bye Bye Birdie. Okay, so Lewis has been with multiple different theater companies over the years. Kelly originally started this whole snowball back when Lewis was in like kindergarten or first grade. Okay. And that was just through the school. Then Missoula's Children's Theater got involved. Then Stage Left Productions got involved. Then Rising Star Theater Academy started doing stuff. So he started getting involved with that. But his first actual Cutler Brothers production was Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
up to that point, it had all been, all these other different little theater companies that he had been working. Well, Missoula's Children's Theater isn't a little theater company.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. It was all different.
They all besides Missoula Children's Theater, they all, for the record, I'm just not being cocky here, but they all failed and we all beat them to the ground and they're all a bunch of losers. But no, it was just interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Such a humble brag right there. We kicked the shit out of all those boys. Yeah.
No, the most positive thing that I could say though is like trying to shit this positive is like, we're at the point where we have so many connections and we can produce shows where we don't have to be directly involved with it. You just saw Robin Hood at the Rialto Theater. Rialto Theater is this big historic theater in downtown Deer Lodge, Montana, for our fans there in Brazil that don't know about it, and only speak Spanish and not heard a fucking thing we said so far.
They heard fuck.
Yeah, that's a universal word.
That's a universal word. Like no.
But we had this and Mahogany up there will be proud of this. Is we're at the level now. We have productions that we're not directing, we're not directly involved with. And they are freaking amazing. We have Robin Hood down there at the Rialto Theater. We're now doing Pride and Prejudice, but none of us are directly involved with. And that's kind of the level that we want to be at, where we can just say, let's produce a show, let's not be directly involved with it, and let these people do their thing. So when you talk about these different, just littering what you're talking about, these different theater productions that he went through and whatever Stage Left and stuff, why can't we support those types of plays? And you don't have to go get your own theater company. You just do it under our umbrella and you can produce whatever you want to. It's just the only thing we have to say is that it has to be a certain standard of professionalism and quality. So anyways, moving on.
Nothing like this podcast.
So nothing like this podcast. Yeah.
So wrapping that around,
wrapping things up.
So Beauty and the Beast came along, and I believe there was a chair in there, or like a medieval looking kind of royal bench or something that wound up breaking during one of the shows, and like all of a sudden they needed somebody to like come in and get this thing fixed, and because obviously the show must go on. And I just happened to be there, and I was like, well, hey, I got tools in my truck, we can whip this out in no time. And I think that kind of opened the door right there. Once these cutlers see that you have something you may be able to offer, they start spinning this little web, like the creepy little spiders they are, and then they just suck you in, and then they start wrapping you up, until they get you all nice and tight, and then they dig their fangs in.
Yeah, it's great, but it's very effective, But I think the point you're trying to make is like when you can allow someone to feel like it's their own thing, their own project, their own acting, everything, that really sucks them in. That's a very good sales.
That's called
strategy.
manipulation.
Yeah, going to
Good word.
manipulation. We have the sales king here, Montgomery from Montgomery, Alabama. Go ahead and chime in.
It's not so much about manipulation. It's about making you feel that your tools and your usefulness are being used to the nth degree. Basically, by you meeting them, you became a better person.
Hey, not to cut anybody off here. Sorry, I forgot to hit the record button. Let me hit that right now.
That's not true. It's not true.
Let's go to Jay Marsh. Weigh in.
No, it's cool that because I think being active as a child, I was active in sports growing up. So theater, sports, they teach you social development, interactions. There's a lot of lessons. So it's really cool, especially now having said about Coach Lewis last year. And it's kind of cool because first time I met Lewis, he was probably in 6th grade. I think it was turning the screw. I was helping with some prop movement in that. And just seeing the development and
just messing. All right, go on.
But it's really cool seeing the development, the social confidence, being able to communicate. That's I think theater had a huge part of his just social development. I think it's really neat.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great point he's making there. So just not to go into Jay Marsh here or whatnot, but so tell us about the Deer Lodge Wardens football season this year.
How'd the varsity team do?
Ouch.
Oh,
can we just kick him off? He wasn't an all-stater.
Wait a minute.
Hate him.
Hey,
how did homecoming go? Oh, is that Bird?
And just a quick break from this. For those fans that are watching in Paraguay,
yeah,
our high school team mascot is the Wardens.
Our high school team mascot in Deer Lodge, because we are the prison city of Montana. The high school team mascot is the Wardens. That's no joke. We are the Deer Lodge Wardens.
Go Wardens.
Go Wardens.
Blue and gold, baby.
Tony, I got to ask you, this is a question that I think to myself a lot because if you had asked me when I started high school, if I would have ever been in shows or ever considered myself a theater guy, I'd be like, no, fuck you. Absolutely not. And here I am all these years later, right? If someone had been 10 years ago, they come up to you and be like, hey man, you're going to be heavily, heavily involved in community theater for the foreseeable future, what would you have said to him?
If somebody would have came up to and said that to me,
yeah.
Boy, that's a good question. I'd probably just look at him and be like, oh, is that so?
A fiddly dee, you say?
Can you give me some lottery numbers too while you're at it?
Well, it's crazy, Tony, to go back to your, you build sets and you're a construction guy, that's your forte and everything. Theater, we've had these chats before. It's so crazy that you can bring together actors, directors, people that build little props, people that do hardcore wood construction like you, musicians, painters. It's there's so much shit under one roof and everybody sees that come together, and that's fucking amazing to me, and I think that's why I continue to do it to this day.
Kelly, I couldn't agree more with you. Yes, we have. We've hashed out this conversation numerous times over. The amount of talent, not only in this community, but in the surrounding communities as well. Not to mention the people that have flown in here. I mean, you guys have brought people in from numerous different areas, all over the country here. So that's pretty cool, for, our little town of Deer Lodge. But having all that talent and being able to pool it together within 5 to 6 weeks time, when we're talking about sets, that's usually about a week and a half, because nobody knows jack shit about the set until the week before the show goes up. But to pull all this stuff off, in that little bit of time is absolutely amazing. It's really cool, and to be a part of it, it's fun. It gets a little stressful at times, when you're under the crunch, but that's like with anything, there's a reason crunch week's called Hell Week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna ask you a question really quick. And you've kind of alliterated this already in your last statement, but I mean, I see you down there. You're volunteering your time. You're working your fucking ass off to build these sets. What is your main motivation, honestly, to continue to go down there and just build these sets, put this time in, make sure everything goes up? What is your main inspiration and motivation to continue to volunteer your time here?
I'm glad you asked that question, Pat. You know, I got to be honest. I really like this town. I really like. I love what the theater community has been able to provide for not only my children, but myself. You know, I touched briefly on just the academic benefits that my children were able to reap from being in theater. But how that's affected me, I want to continue to see this grow. I want to continue to see this around. I love this community. I want to continue to help be a part of building this community and seeing it grow. And I want to see, you know, things like the theater be around for, you know, the next 50 years, you know, if not longer. I got to be honest. I look at it and I see some kind of legacy there. You know, I really do, to be honest. You know, we have to continue to have vision and maintain our perspective of where we want to go with this. But in order to do that, you have to have people who are just generally passionate about it, you know, and really care about it, you know. And because I want to see my community grow and develop and prosper, and I want to see my kids and all the other kids out there have the best possible opportunities for growing up in life that they possibly can. You know, this is one avenue to do it, and that's why I do it. You know, a lot of you guys know some of the shit I put myself through during our rough times that we've had. And that's the motivation there, you know, is the kids, our future, and this community, you know. Not to mention, I kind of like you guys too, you know, even though you guys treat me like shit, you know, you're not.
Hey,
Oh,
that's
that's
how
beautiful.
you know. That's how you know we like you, though. And just one thing that was really well said. I just want to make a joke because you were too sentimental for a second. Pat mentioned volunteering multiple times. That's just to remind you, you're not getting paid for any of the work you do.
Right. So, uncutting, what he said was beautiful, but my joke was he like spent so much time invested, especially on the roof, to make sure that didn't collapse on his kids for that couple years. It was rough, you know.
Dude,
that's freaking awesome.
that roof was a hell of a beast, man. That roof was a hell of a beast, no doubt.
Sure.
I about lost my shit a couple times up there.
Yeah,
You know,
Tony's generally a pretty calm guy, but a couple times. So just for everyone that's in Argentina, to keep things going, like Pat says, Argentinians, whatever. We had this roof. It was terrible, like terrible. We tried so much shit and we ripped it off. I know, Tony, I know you definitely got frustrated with me because I like to put the cart before the horse and I like to move fairly quickly. But I remember one day we were down there, and of course, the summer that we tore the roof off was the most rain we've had in our entire fucking history in Deer Lodge. So I just got videos and stuff, and I remember being down there, and it was just a monsoon in that place, and there's 15 garbage cans trying to catch this shit. And yeah, I'm surprised that we're even talking to this day because we're pretty fucking pissed.
I just want to weigh in really quick on what Tony said there. It's like, you know, the other backside to this, and I've talked about this, and Mahogany knows this, Jay Marsh knows this, Kelly knows this, Tony knows this, is the reason this is called the Prison City Podcast is because we grew up in a prison city town in Western Montana. And Deer Lodge, I'm just being honest with you, when you talk about giving kids opportunities and stuff, it's a really big deal because Deer Lodge is a tough as fuck place to grow up in. It's the old school Butte, Montana. Butte's now just a bunch of giant fucking pussies who watch the TV set. Whatever, you know. Was the truth, but like Deer Lodge, it's a tough fucking place. There are no excuses. It's a very difficult place to grow up in. And when you have a chance to sit there and say, well, you know, I'm gonna go up against all odds and make sure that these kids have more opportunities than we had as kids and make sure that everything's going positively there. I just want to say that the perfect example of that is Kelly chugging that Budweiser beer right there.
I think for me, it's cool that, you know, to kind of go touch back on the story that it was 3 young kids. We had an idea of what we wanted to do and what we wanted to like create eventually. And now a guy, you know, I hadn't met Tony until a couple of years ago. And to see like something that we created as 18, 19-year-olds is like making this much of a difference. And it's, you know, we're a generation away now. It's his kids, he's coming in and he cares so much about it. It's really cool. I mean, I think, you know, we did it because we wanted to do it and we wanted to make people laugh and we knew we could, and we wanted to entertain people and we just like being around each other like that. But we wanted to build something that lasted, and it's just really cool. Like, that's, to be serious for a second, it's really cool to hear Tony say that stuff. It's something that, you know, I don't know if I can be outside of my family any more proud to hear stuff like that.
Yeah, man, it's built into something, and like Pat said earlier, with Robin Hood and shows going up, you know, without us really doing much at all besides producing the thing, we got the costumes and sets to provide all that and the financial backing and things. It honestly reminds me of Missoula Children's Theater, which I don't know if you guys know, but that is the biggest children's theater in the entire fucking world. It's not Montana, it's not the United States, it's the entire world, largest children's theater. And I know Jim Karen, he started that shit, and he's not even involved anymore. And it just keeps going and chugging along. And that's what I want to see from this as well, that it's going long after all of us are dead in a couple of years.
And for those of us, our fans listening in Avon, when he's dead in a couple of years, that means he's not going to be alive.
That how it works?
That is actually the star that we've been talking about this entire time there in the background.
Yeah, they've created a monster. Biggest walking hemorrhoid I have ever seen. No.
All right, guys, just to wrap things up here, how's the
So cool.
football team?
Super freaking cool, man. The next generation. It's just, I watching Robin Hood, I honestly shed a tear once or twice because I was like, this is fucking happening. Cutler Brothers Productions producers, and it was fantastic. It was fucking fantastic.
You know, on that note, I think for our viewers down in Brazil, we need to shed a little light in regards to Robin Hood and the Rialto and how all this ties together. So our Rialto Theater, this old historic theater that burnt the fuck down and then we reconstructed it back up, just had a 100-year anniversary. And in commemoration of that 100-year anniversary, when Cutler Brothers was invited to do a show, they decided to do Robin Hood, which was the first show that was done on that stage. And it was actually done by a traveling opera at the time in 1921. So all you Brazilians now know, that's Robin Hood, that's the Rialto, that's where it all ties together with the centennial. So.
And people always talk about industry in this town. Industry. We need to bring back the mines. We need to bring in Walmart, whatever. Why can't entertainment be the industry in this town? I was just saying this the other night. We had chamber after hours with the Chamber of Commerce, and they had a band down there. The place was packed. Some of the people that own businesses around town were there, and we were having some drinks, having a great time. And I was just like, if you really think Deer Lodge is a ghost town anymore, if you think it's dying, look the fuck around. But 10 years ago, when Cutler Brothers Productions got our new space, this town was almost a ghost town. And now look at the businesses that are sprouting off of that, because we can't survive just with Deer Lodge alone. Deer Lodge is great, but our business is just intrinsic. Like if if nobody from Deer Lodge ever went to our shows, we would still survive. And that's a fucking industry, you know?
No, and you're absolutely right, Kelly. I make it a point to try to make as many shows as I can, especially when the kids are involved and things like that. And there's been shows that I've worked concessions or just sat in the stands and I didn't recognize anybody in there, from town here. There might have been one besides, those of us that have to be there at the theater. There's been shows where it's pretty much all out of town folks, so not saying that's the case all the time, but I thoroughly believe that we could still survive.
Yeah.
And that's actually, oh, go ahead, Pat. Sorry. I got a fun question for him after whatever you got.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So you've been to a lot of shows, as you said. What's your least favorite show that's been put on?
What was the last one you were in, Mark?
I think that's actually a serious question.
Yeah.
So what was the last one you were in?
I don't even think Tony lived here when Mark was in shows.
No, I don't think so either. What was that? What was our ad lib show? I'm blanking on the name.
Geez, least favorite show.
We're gonna wrap things up here, folks.
Man, that's a tough question.
Part 2 coming next week.
I'll kind of fill some dead space for you because I've been in a lot and I've seen a lot, and this is like pre-me acting and all that stuff. Steel Magnolia was my least favorite show, and it's not even close. That show sucks.
And Mahoney comes back from Seattle once a year. He gets to see one show a year, so I think he was pretty disappointed in 2018 or whatever.
It's not like the acting wasn't bad. I just don't care for that story. So let me clear that up. Like,
Yeah,
I thought the acting was just fine. I just really hate the story. I don't care for it.
So I'm gonna give Tony
I
some
think
more.
the 39 Steps would probably have to be the worst show that I've ever seen.
Jeez, are you serious?
Didn't you star in that?
Oh shit!
That's
why.
I want you to level your measurement of seriousness, because my review of 39 Steps was that, honestly, I think that year, because we do the awards big within the year for our fans in Egypt that are watching this from a fucking pyramid right now. We have an awards banquet at the end of the year. We all vote in the awards banquet. And when I saw 39 Steps, I did not understand it. I didn't get what the point was. I thought it was the most dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But I honestly thought, Tony, the level of quality. My thing is, like, I might bash like a certain story or whatever, but the quality is always up there. It's always high. It's very high, and the quality of 39 Steps that you guys did was very, very high. And I personally, I thought you did an amazing job in that play. You did a very good job. Your acting, I thought, was really, really good. I mean, you had a shit ton of lines there. So was that a serious answer or not?
No. Thank you. Yeah, there was. Well, it wasn't really just a shit ton of lines, but the way the language was in that show, there was a lot of wordplay that would go back and forth. So super easy to get your lines turned around. I mean, I have no idea how many times I tripped over my tongue and screwed up and got lines turned around. It happens, but as we all know, the show must go on. No, that was a fun show. I think that was the first show I really did getting involved with Cutler Brothers. I think I might have done a comedy night prior to that, or no, I hosted a comedy night prior to that. But no, so that was the first one that I did, and I really haven't done much except for, what was it, 2 years ago we did Music Man, and
okay, yes.
That was the last production. That was actually a really fun show. And I have to say, on that note, Music Man, that was the show that saved our ass in regards to that riff.
Oh yeah, big time. the attendance wasn't as big as I thought because Music Man's huge. Mahogany up there is a big Music Man fan.
That's my favorite musical without question.
So
Is it?
so Tony, I just want to talk about one thing on Music Man.
Oh shit.
So here we are, and I had a very bit part. I was just in the beginning because I wanted to act and do something, but not have a full commitment with I had my kids and everything else. And so one of my favorite sayings, and Montgomery up there, it knows what I'm talking about here, is one of my favorite scenes here is the very beginning. Anybody has seen the Music Man? There's the train scene. They're just talking, they're rapping and going back and forth, and I gotta get and I was in that scene with Tony and several other people. His son was there also. And we would practice that every single night right before the show. We'd go over it, over and over it. But regardless how well we knew that, the band would speed up and they'd slow down. Imagine trying to rap in the band, and this is Kelly's idea, I think. I don't know, maybe this is Kelly just put this in there. It's like there was a different drummer guy every show, not every show, but it was a different guy for several shows, or so you'd be up and down everything else. But the main thing I wanted to ask though is like, so we had so you know there's a train, so you're trying to simulate the train on stage, and we had this fucking
That canopy.
a canopy,
With all the PVC poles.
PVC
We had a
poles,
canopy
and
made. Go ahead.
no, sorry, and that's how we'd be walking. So imagine going to our theater. There's this the big ass curtain, you know, mahogany, and it comes down or whatever, and that thing's fucking hitting the top of that every single. So you're folding it up and then you're folding it out when you get on stage. Half the time, that damn thing wasn't even close to what it should have looked like.
Oh no, that thing would get twisted and flopped over itself. I mean, you never knew what you were in for when that show started, whether it was malfunctions with the train canopy that we had to simulate being in a train car, you know, or Kelly Cutler having like Dave Lombardi from Slayer as our drummer for the orchestra pit that night, you know, so we have to try to keep up with him. You never knew. It was always a new surprise, you know, but man, it was great. It was a good time. That was a really fun production.
Mahogany, did you saw the Music Man, didn't you?
No, I missed it. I think it was that Steel Magnolia year. I think I missed.
No.
This is
else.
no. Yeah, it was the Chopping Block. It was 2019. Mahoney saw that.
No.
Oh, you saw the Chopping Block?
Well, I enjoyed the Chopping Block a great deal. Yes,
but that train canopy, just a word there, because opening night, it got totally fucking, bamboozled. And this is opening night. It was terrible. My idea was like, it was in my head. It didn't quite come across the way I wanted it to, but I thought of like a cardboard something that folded out and was this big, beautiful train, because I'm like, this is literally in 5 minutes of the show. I don't want a giant caboose, a giant train sitting backstage. I'm always thinking about space and stuff like that. I know Tony is too. And as for the drummer, we did have two different drummers. I don't know how often, but being a classified as a community theater, we expect professional level shit from everybody, because I bet you we rehearsed that song outside of Crunch Week. I bet you we rehearsed that song maybe 3 times, and that's a very difficult rap.
That's why we were literally doing it every single time before the show. My youngest son, crazy ass kid, he would sit there and he'd clap and like, I don't know if you remember this, Tony. He was there and like watching.
Yeah, he was like a little miniature metronome for us.
Yeah. I want to. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can you give us a quick sampling of the rap if you remember any of it?
Oh God.
Oh man.
Here, I'll start. I'll start, Pat.
Ready? Here we go.
It's a Model T Ford. Gotta get up and go. Made the trouble, gotta go. Gotta get up and go. 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 22, 23 miles to the county seat. County seat? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who's gonna buy a 2x4 anymore?
Here, Pat, you can talk, you can bigger.
You
That's
talk, you
yours.
bigger, you bigger, bigger. Talk, bigger, bigger. Talk like you want it, but it's different than it was. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. But we got no territory. I had
That's
one. I
such
had
a
one,
good show.
Oh,
I had one line mahogany, and that one line I would walk around. I had my kids at like JC Park. JC Park for our fans in Indonesia is a.
I like how you haven't repeated a country yet. Very,
You've
very
done
good.
pretty
good. And you've jumped all over the map too.
our fans in Indonesia. It's a park within Duras, Montana. It's a very good park, great park. Anyways, I was there with my kids, and I would sit there with my script, and just that there's this big sequence. And Kelly knows what I'm talking about, and it is freaking tough as fuck. I ran it over and over, just that one sequence within that one song. Because what happened was Kelly signed it, or not. Oh yeah, he did sign it actually. He kind of drew out the way he wanted to see it, which is great because he was a director or whatever. But I had a sequence there. It was so fucking tough that I ran it over and over. And the funny thing was, Tony was like, every single night I got that one sequence right, but I would have nights where I got other sequences incorrect.
Yeah, the Music Man, not to be a music nerd here, but it was literally a decrescendo of a show. We talked about that a lot. You go from that song to like the trouble rap, which I almost passed out on stage. And I'm not even fucking joking. Halfway through dress rehearsal, I just got a hot flash and almost passed the fuck out because I couldn't keep up. It was just like, I don't even remember it nowadays, but
Trouble, yeah, I agree. Trouble Live was, if you've seen Music Man doing it live, Trouble Live is fucking ridiculous to try to do. Ridiculous.
Yeah, especially when you're as out of shape and drunk as I was.
well, if I remember right, your suit was like 3 sizes too small, and you actually blew the button off of your overcoat on your suit or one of your shirts, something like that, in the middle of the show.
During the most serious part of the show, the button flies off my suit jacket, and I was gonna ignore it, but I knew people saw it. I was like, "Son, let me tell you something." Pop goes the button. And then I look at the audience, and I'm like, "I gotta go on a diet." It was like 2 minutes.
I'm gonna stop this for 2 seconds, guys. All right, everybody ready to go and actually start the recording? All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna switch this up. I'm going back to the Future Color Productions, connecting the past to the future here. Please go to bed there.
All right.
Okay, sidetrack. That's the impact that Color Brothers Production has on his daughter. She cannot take her eyes off it. She wants to know what's going on. What's the next play? What can she be in? Am I right?
Yeah, she's totally turned into a theater rat. She loves all aspects of it. She really does. She's acquired such an appreciation for it. It's interesting because she had a babysitter like the last year or two, something like that started getting her into special effects makeup. Obviously she's looking at applying this into the theater, as we go on through the years. But my wife and I come home from Butte on Sunday, and here's Izzy and the older gal that was hanging out with her while we were gone. But she's got this prosthetic lesion on her arm, and she's got the makeup done up. I mean, just almost perfect, spot on. I mean, it looks like she stuck her arm in the motor of the truck, and the fan just chewed it up. I mean, it's just fucking gnarly, for just in case the Mongolian magistrates listening here and they want to get a good mental picture of what's going on. We had the bright idea. We went to different businesses around town and we started pranking them, with this lesion on her arm. Actually, Prison Pizza was the first place that we stopped. Her brother was working and we went rushing in there. And we're like, we need a first aid kit. We need a first aid kit. And I never seen a kid move so damn fast in his life. Kelly, actually, you were working in back. You got to see it. You know, it was-
Yeah, I would have believed it, but she had a shit-eating grin on her face the whole time.
right.
So yeah, I just want to say one thing really quick. For 2 points there, you said Butte, Montana. You said prison pizza. I just want to clarify for our fans that are watching Afghanistan right now. Could you clarify where Butte is in prison pizza?
This
Me?
is the most we've ever clarified anything in any podcast.
Yes. Prison,
Okay, so there is an asshole that is in the earth. Okay, and there's only one asshole that is in the earth.
And we call that prison pizza.
It's a mile deep and it's a mile high.
The kind of shit that comes out.
All
of
you
that
have to do
place.
is drop the E off
Ridiculous.
of the name. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, this can be fun doing this podcast next week without J March on it.
Oh no, so prison pizza being in Deer Lodge, Montana here, that's southwest Montana. Butte, Montana being 30 miles southeast of here. If that clarifies it. And why I said it was a big hole is very historic town, but it's actually a mile high and it's a mile deep. It's a big hole. So hence the joke. It's a giant asshole.
That makes sense. Prison pizza. Shading off the thing we've talked about the entire time. We are the prison city of Montana. Thus the prison city podcast. What the fuck is going on in the background for you, Mahogany? Internet's kicking out.
It's nothing special. It's Wednesday nights. Man, it's nothing. It's no big deal. It's a family show.
Oh, it's family friendly. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so
So you don't mind my daughter watching?
Oh no, that's off camera. That's fine. She won't say.
So what
That's a joke. It's not a stripper for everyone.
No, but honestly though, what I wanted to really switch to for our fans in Dubai is that the original Color Brothers Productions, Mahogany can weigh in on this, is one of the guys went to the old prison in Montana here, the old prison, and this guy said his name's, I'm not gonna say his name. Well, his name's John O'Donnell. Well, I just said it. All right. He said he wanted to do X-rated hardcore, not hardcore. God, that sounds so bad. He wanted to do R-rated type comedy on stage. And now where we progress right now is we have our comedians, we have different ratings. Kelly talks about we have different ratings for different shows. Come to a musical, you expect a certain rating. You come to Aladdin, you don't expect hardcore sex on stage. Jeez, what is he doing?
You guys
He
get up
still
and
got
leave
his
every 10
pants up,
seconds.
so
When I
we're
stand up
okay.
for 3 seconds, it's the end of the fucking world.
But anyways, Kelly mentioned this is like we have different ratings for different shows. An improv show, people expect to be an R rating. A roast, they expect R plus rating. Now we are about to launch, and this is a huge surprise for Mahones here, that the first play that I'm going to direct for Cut the Rose Productions has more F words on stage than you could ever fucking imagine. I guarantee that's a huge shock for you that you did not see that coming. But what do you think though about how we've been able though to go from, oh my gosh, we can't say Jason Johns, for example, and rumors he couldn't say fuckerini on stage, which would be hilarious, to now where we kind of feel free to like, okay, we have an improv show, we have a roast, we have a Pulitzer Prize winning show. We're gonna say the actual words in the script. How do you feel about how that progression has happened culturally here in a small religious town like Deer Lodge?
I just think it's people we've earned their trust basically after all these years of like, you kind of have to dip your toe in the water on some things. And I think all of us have deep down in us somewhere, there's a sick sense of humor. And for us, it's not that deep down. And so that's, if you can do it and you can do it the right way, so it doesn't seem like you're doing it to like rub people's noses in it. And I think they understand that we've been doing this for so long. We're not going to do it just for like the shock value. We're going to do like, if we swear outside of this podcast, like if we swear in a proper theater thing that we're doing, we're doing it like with purpose, right? We're not just saying fuck to say fuck. So I think that's it. It's just a lot of years of people trusting what we're doing and knowing that there's intent to what we're doing and not just shock value.
Yeah, totally. So let me kick it to J Marsh. What do you think about that?
I think it's cool to like kind of knowing you, like watching you guys as you kind of started when I was like in high school, kind of go to the theater, play here and there, and now like 10 years later, I'm almost active in it. Like now knowing the backstory behind the plays, the setup, like the time and effort that gets put into it, it's kind of a cool to see like what gets produced, and it's cool that you're able to like a show that you're going to first direct is one you actually want to do. You're not just doing one because it's one of the 4 you guys could do that summer. You're actually sitting down and picking what you want to see on stage.
Yeah. And kick it to Kelly now. What do you think about that?
Well, we've talked about, I don't know where I'm at in my theater and acting career, but I only want to do stuff that I'm passionate about. And it's cool that we have that opportunity now. And therefore, we can kick other opportunities out there, like, again, the Robin Hood, the Steel Magnolias, 39 Steps, all these shows that I wasn't personally involved with. Back in the day, I used to basically direct every single show. And after 2016, it just became exhausting. You know, we had a rehearsal for something in the morning, and then we had a read through at 2:00 in the afternoon, and then we had a show that night. And after that year, I was like, I never want to fucking do this again. So anyways, I'm glad the theater's still going, and the focus should be on something that somebody is passionate about, because I think that is what pays off in the end. You're not so concerned about the audience. The chopping block was a good example a few years ago. We weren't concerned about the audience that was there because it was something we wanted to do. And yeah, I think that people are, I mean, they do these types of shows, these terrible shows, even worse than Glengarry Glen Ross, which is the show in June. They do these terrible shows, terrible all over the nation, terrible movies. They obviously have a following. They obviously have an audience. We like that. What makes us think that we're separated from anybody else? I mean, I'd go watch Glengarry Glen Ross on stage after watching the movie.
Yeah, it's honestly a very good show. And I have a follow-up question to everybody here, but first I'm gonna kick it to Tony. And what do you have to say about that?
I kind of got lost in regards to what the question was, listening to all the comments.
So
that'll happen, man. That'll happen.
So just to recap for you there, when we first started out, we could not cuss on stage. You watched your son on stage here for our horror show, creep show, say numerous F words. When we first started out in Dirt Lodge, we basically, and this is a big understanding for our fans here in Uruguay, that we because we are in a Western place that's very religious, and they don't tolerate any swearing or cussing or anything. And maybe we were wrong. Maybe we were wrong the entire time. I don't know. But we had to tolerate things and roll things back so hardcore that when we first started going, not to offend people and not to get people that would boycott our theater based on our content, that we rolled things back so far when it comes to content and swearing and stuff like that. And Mahogany there knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's for example, the first comment we did, we had this certain person. This is a great script. It was called the Work Boss Jerk skit. And the line was simply, it was not that big of a deal of a line. It's like, I could reach over there and molest you right now. You wouldn't even know it. And he refused to say that line. Now you watch a comedy night, and it's like people will say fuck, they'll say whatever. They'll say whatever they want to do. But the question is like that transition, though, where it's like back in the day when Mahones knows and Kelly knows, as we started out, we could not say almost anything because the crowd would be so offended. That today it's like, we can put ratings on different shows and stuff. Does that kind of sum it up for you?
Kind of. I guess I'll try to answer this the best that I can understand from what you just said. I believe that the theater has gained a certain branding over the years in regards to not only the level of professionalism that we deliver, but the diversity that we have to offer in regards to the entertainment business. It's very well understood, mostly through the community here. I mean, it stretches out a little bit farther, that we've been able to go into bars and do improv nights. You know, obviously those can get a little racy, maybe kind of raunchy at times. Same goes with our comedy nights, but they've also seen our more sensual side and more emotional side. You know, Mark Mahoney bashed it down into the dirt in regards with Steel Magnolias. But so we've earned that level of trust within the community for being versatile and just being serious, you know, in regards to being entertainers. I think because of that, the criticism bar for the language and content is much more versatile. If that explains it well.
Yeah, no, I know
Answers your
exactly.
question well enough for you.
I know exactly what you're saying. You know, if it's an Oscar award-winning play or whatever, you can
Like
say
Steel Magnolias.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. If it's a Color Brothers original, you can't. No, just kidding. But anyways, so here's going to be my next point is like, so I've watched comedy nights and stuff where people got offended over shit or piss or some bizarre thing. There was a comedy night several years ago, St. Patrick's Day comedy night, where people walked out, a priest and like 3 nuns walked out and said it was too offensive. Clear story though, it was like, but, and this is the thing, the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Well, guess what? I watched in person, my favorite fucking play I've ever seen in person was Chicago and on the Cutler Brothers stage. And it was the most ridiculous, offensive. The shit they did in Chicago, they were practically having sex on stage at some points, and nobody fucking cared. It's like the third or fourth most highest attended play in Cutler Brothers history. So that's what I'm talking about. Glenn Ross.
I have to cut you off right there.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but like Chicago left me very uncomfortable. You have to realize that my kid's babysitter was in Chicago, you know, teenage girl. And there is a point in that show where she is wearing this skimpy ass costume and she does like a flip and a roll and boom, spread eagle right in front of me. So that was very awkward, very uncomfortable. Anyways,
it's a little thing called art. Perhaps you've heard of it.
That's good to hear.
Just ends it.
No, that's good to hear that feedback, because the results of that play said you're probably in the minority.
well, I am Sicilian and Mexican, so that's true.
Yeah, can I just chime in on all of this stuff? Theater is meant, and entertainment is meant to show us the sides of people, the comedy of people, the seriousness of people that other people might think or see or experience, but they don't want the public to see. And that's the point of putting it on stage, is to go, wow, people actually fight like this, and tell their significant other to fuck off and stuff like that. And in terms of Chicago, that one blew my mind out of my fucking skull, because it is the third highest attended show we've ever done. I didn't expect it. I thought it'd be hard to pull people. And yeah, I know the one you were talking about was your babysitter and stuff. There's also other young girls in that, but they were all like either seniors in high school or graduated. And again, where we were when we were seniors in high school or freshmen in college, I mean, it's a far cry from, you know, what we think. They're not kids anymore. They think differently. They tell the high school, I know they tell the worst jokes on earth. And it's just,
my son's got some doozers. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
I
just
think I think he learned them from you.
I don't take credit for that, but it's fascinating to me, and I think that's why we're here. Not everything has to be super offensive, but people want to see some raw emotion and things that are just terrible in this world that actually happen, and we talk about those on stage, and that's why I think people buy tickets.
I hope you guys understand I was being sarcastic during that, though. That was actually a really great show. But
Oh, absolutely.
I have to tell you, it was kind of awkward to see my kids' babysitter spread eagle right in front of me.
That's because you personally know her too.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I agree with your point though. It was very awkward if Mahomes wasn't there, but if he was there with me, he'd find it very awkward considering that people walked out of our comedy shows that had basically no cussing or anything, right, Mahogany?
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know if it's back like when we first started, if people thought we were just like too young, and it was just like, well, they're just being outrageous, these damn kids. I don't know if that's what they thought. I mean, I don't know what you expect going to a St. Patrick's Day comedy night. Like that's you just got it. That's on you. Like showing up to that's your fault. Got your money. Thanks for coming. Maybe make better choices next time.
That's actually one of the only refunds we ever gave. It was a shit show. They demanded a refund at intermission, and it sucked because there's only 35 people at that show, and then these 8 people walk out. Like, fuck, man. And it was no worse, no better than any other comedy night. It's just you need the crowd to back you. You need that energy, and we did not have that night.
Yeah, it's tough when the crowd's dead. When the crowd's dead, you feel like you have to like act more or like give more to try and get more, and then it's just exhausting, man. Everyone's had a dead crowd, so it's brutal.
Yeah. So here's what my next point I want to go forward with is that we're doing. If you haven't seen it yet, guys, we're doing a big special. It's called Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. And the cussing and swearing in that play is the worst of any play that has ever been done in Cutler Brothers history. But my point, like Chicago, you put behind this big credibility, this big show, or this show's on Broadway, this show's this. I put up there, it says it's a Pulitzer Prize winning show, and we put out warnings and everything else. Then people are going to go into this show knowing exactly what they're seeing, and they're like, okay, this is okay, or whatever. It was like when you preface it like that, when you have that rating, or you preface it like, okay, this is what this is, and this is, if this was, say for example, if Kelly wrote this show and he called it Kelly's show or whatever he wants to call it, and we said the same things in that show, people would probably freak the fuck out. But that we can put this is a Pulitzer Prize winning play from Samuel Adams or whatever the fucking play production company is. I think people are going to come to this show and just be like, whatever. And I'm telling you, the content right now is insane. And guess what? Mahogany, you're going to be able to see this live. I bet you can't wait to see it. Anyways, let me keep the J Marsh. What do you think about that hypocrisy right there?
Everyone's different. Like context is huge. Some people find very clean, like Jay Leno, vast majority of career, very clean, never produced any specials. Then you have other people who are way more edgy. So it's just kind of like context and a personal taste. Like you're not going to please everyone, especially with comedy. Jokes are going to hit, jokes are going to miss. I mean, one of the last comedy nights I went to, they had one of the jokes just didn't hit. Something about a kid in an oven. Not everyone wants to have that image in their head, but for me, it's
By the way, that skit Mahogany, we did a Christmas Carol, and Matt wrote a skit that he was in. Did you write that, or did Matt write that, Kelly?
I wrote that one.
Okay, so
Matt was in
sorry.
it, though.
Kelly wrote it, and Matt was in it. So Matt and his girlfriend, Kaya, they reprised their role from A Christmas Carol a week later. And instead of being like sympathetic and crying towards Tiny Tim, they actually roasted Tiny Tim in an oven during that skit. It was so fucking funny, so original. The audience did not take that at all. What do you think of that, Mahoney?
Nope.
I mean, I'm like a living example because I really thought my stripper joke from earlier was going to hit a lot better than it did. And you just keep swinging, man. You just keep swinging. Sometimes you're going to connect. Sometimes you're going to miss.
And some of that darker comedy, I know this from the crowd, they don't want to laugh out loud. So the people that actually find it funny, because they're like, I don't want anybody to see that I'm laughing at this, but it's fucking hilarious. And I had a few people actually say that about not just that comedy night sketch, but other things we've done. It's so funny. I'm like, well, why the fuck didn't you laugh? That lets us know on stage, you know?
Well, just imagine that though, Mahogany. You go to a Christmas Carol, and a lot of people that went to Christmas Carol went to comedy night. Not everybody, but a lot of people did. And you have Matt and Kaya acting their parts super fucking serious in the Christmas Carol. And then Kelly comes out with a skit about the Christmas Carol, same actors, same everything, and they're boiling fucking Tiny Tim in an oven. How is that not fucking hilarious?
I mean, I can see how it didn't land with everyone.
I mean, it's the wrong bun in the wrong oven, right?
Yeah, I can see how that one might not hit everyone's funny bone, but
all right, let me rotate to Tony. And the main question again was about the hypocrisy. If we put a big caption and everything on for a Pulitzer Prize winning play and all these things, just like Chicago, before you were offended. But just the mentality is all, if you do something that's like known or it's a Pulitzer Prize winning play, then you can almost get away with murder. But if Kelly were to write the same thing on stage, they would be very offended. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me that people would totally lose their crap, because there's no kind of credibility behind it. It seems like once there's some kind of credibility behind a production or an activity, people are more inept to just follow suit and accept those things as being socially acceptable, regardless of the content material that's involved with it. I think those of us that are I think those people that are more open-minded and appreciate the arts more and more receptive to them, are usually the ones that we find, like Kelly mentioned, those are the ones that are laughing at that dark humor that's in these comedy nights. They're not afraid to let their bellies jiggle, and laugh out loud and enjoy and find the humor in these jokes that are there. Boiling Tiny Tim in an oven, I don't know. I guess I would have had to have been there. I mean, I'm curious, where the hell did they stick the thermometer?
So, it's a point I wanted to make. So you have a director like credibility, like Quentin Tarantino. He can say any racial slur he wants to. He's a white guy. He can say any racial slur he wants to. He's done films where it makes the KKK look like a joke of a random people that they're just a joke. I think people would find that very, very fucking offensive because the KKK obviously historically has done crazy fucking ridiculous evil shit, but yet he portrays them as a joke in his films. He uses racial slurs, everything else, and people will sit there and say, well, that's art or whatever, that's just art or whatever. And yet, rolling back to it, we're doing a horror film this summer, and these actresses and actors from Missoula, super fucking liberal, they don't want to say the lines in the script. They don't want to say any of it. And they're claiming this is offensive to women, all these different things. It's like, it's a movie, it's a film, it's a script. If my name is Quentin Tarantino, would you fucking question it? So it's like they eventually just quit the movie entirely at the end there. But it's like, that's my point about credibility and things, where the hypocrisy is fucking through the fucking roof. That's why I can't wait to do Glengarry Glen Ross and say whatever the fuck I want on stage. Kelly, go ahead, then we'll go to Mahoney.
You just gotta not care, you know. People might think we're trying to be offensive just to be offensive, but I know that there's a spectrum of humor styles out there, and we know what basically works. But why not go outside the lines? Again, like I said a couple weeks ago, Family Guy, they do the worst shit on earth, but then we do a story about, oh, we're a starving family, you know, we're gonna boil our fucking, you know, crippled son and eat him for dinner. I can see that story on Family Guy, and people would go be sharing it and going, wow, this is so fucking funny and everything. And you don't really know, you really don't know what hits with people. Just because they're not laughing doesn't mean people don't enjoy it. I've caught myself watching shows before and going, wow, that was really funny, but I'm not laughing, you know, giving the praise to the actors on stage. I just think it's all art, it's all trial and error, it's all experiment, and I feel like everybody should have some balls to go out there and put something in front of people that they're kind of nervous about, a Facebook post, a show on stage, whatever, you know, because I just feel like that's healthy. And who can, if they get offended, that's their fucking problem, because there's almost nothing in this world that offends me.
Yeah.
Like to go to your Family Guy point really quick, because I think throughout like modern history, so the past 20 years, where you had The Simpsons blew up, South Park, like people are able to disassociate a cartoon character from like a person. Where like when it's a person making that joke, that now there's like a realness to it in a way. Like I think that's what gets a lot of people. Like they can't disassociate. Like, oh, the context, the setting. This isn't happening in my kitchen. This is like a make believe world. But it becomes too real when it's a person up there making that joke, as opposed to a Canadian dude whose face separates in the middle. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna before Mahogany goes here, I'm gonna alliterate on J Marsh's point here. Is a very good point here. Is like people, and I'm just gonna come out and say it, people in left wing liberal politics cannot disseminate reality from art or film. They can't. They can't fucking do it. They are incapable of doing it. It's insanity. And when you can't do that, how can you be an actor if you're like, well, I don't like this play or whatever because it doesn't go with my political beliefs? It's a fucking play. It's a movie. It's art. Mahogany, take it over.
I mean, I feel like if you're going to see a show outside, you know, people can like, hey, whatever, you know, Peter Griffin said what he said, and he's not a real person, right? But if you're coming into a show, most people when they come into like if they're coming to a professional game, or if they're going to a stand-up comedian, or going to see some sort of theater, that's for some sort of escape of reality, right? So you should kind of let yourself enjoy that escape. And you know, from the other end, as an actor, that are like, I like to make people laugh. That stuff's like, man, inject my veins. Like that's heroin. Like it's such a rush. And so I like to try and do, you know, something a little bit different to catch them off their guard, but also, you know, try and keep them within the story. So I don't know. That's one of the things I love the most about is just there's that back and forth with the crowd. And so if people come in and take it way too serious, then don't come to the show. Like if you're going to treat me like that's Mark Mahoney up there and not my whoever the hell I'm supposed to be, then don't come.
I think you said it best, folks. So to wrap things up here tonight, guys.
We should really wrap up. This is a long one.
yeah, I need to draw myself a new watch at this point.
For all the people watching in Peru right now. One final question, and this is a very short final question, not a lot of detail here. So Deer Lodge, Montana, it's been not a ghost town, but it's been a place that's been losing population as more people go to bigger cities and whatnot. And we're trying to find attractions in Deer Lodge, Montana, and try to build this place, not just make it about just there's a prison and we employ the prison and there's a mill and that's all we have, because that's all we have is the town is going to die here in Western Montana. So to go with that, the final question is for the city council, Mr. Anthony here, Savalla. We're trying to rebuild this town. Everyone's trying to rebuild this town. what I mean, I guess just what in general do you think that we need to do to keep Deer Lodge alive and build it back up and get more people in this town? What do you think needs to actually happen?
Well, Pat, that's a good question. I think there's a couple things that need to happen. Um, One of the things that needs to happen, I think the most important thing that needs to happen is the citizens need to step up and make it a point to be involved and want to be informed. That's ultimately crucial right there. Without citizens being on board for things, being properly educated in regards to what's going on with their community, it's hard to get things through a ballot, through a vote, and move forward. The other thing is having vision. We need people that are stepping up to have vision. We need people that are either in our town or coming to our town with a sense of vision that they're bringing with them. You know, you can't look at what the immediate is right in front of you. We need to have people that are actually looking down the road, you know, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and not being tunnel vision by any means. You know, you have to be able to kind of step back and look at things from a broader perspective. Building economy here in Deer Lodge, it's not probably the easiest thing, but it is doable. I guess it ultimately boils down to what kind of economy that you're looking at building. You know, obviously Joe Blow down the street, you know, I mean, he's good at twisting wrenches and things like that. He can probably find some warehouse space, you know, and then he can open himself up a mechanic shop and get that going, you know, and that's great. It brings diversity in the town. So you got a couple different people that you can choose from to work on your rig. But looking at a broader bigger sense of economy. Some of you guys remember just a few years back here, we lost the state title license and registration bureau. That was a huge asset for our community. I want to say that probably employed close to 30 people. And it was yanked out right from underneath our feet. Everybody was blindsided by it, to be honest. It hurt us a lot. But I do believe that there are people out there that are eyeballing our community that want to bring that economy back in here. You know, obviously there's always chatter out there. You know, only believe, you know, a small fraction of what you hear and a smaller fraction of what you see. But it's just people being able to step up and have vision. I think that's what our community needs. And as more of us step up and have that vision, we're going to start to see change influence, because we're just going to be tired of the old. You know, we want change, you know, and we're going to get pissed off after a point. We're just going to make it happen.
I totally agree here. And to wrap up here with Kelly, go ahead.
I agree with Tony. I just think passion. People just need whatever they're passionate about to go for it. Stop thinking of the old. Stop thinking of the mining community and things that just are not going to come back here, and develop your own businesses based off of whatever the fuck you really feel in your heart that you want to do. And don't be afraid to step up. You know, that's the thing. I think Deer Lodge is bouncing back. I really do. Most people call it a ghost town still, but I'm like, no, it's bouncing back. It's on the up and up. Trust me, count the businesses on Main Street versus 10 years ago when we first opened that theater.
Yep, absolutely. Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, you need passion. I think one of the things that Deer Lodge has taken a long time, they almost don't want to be known as the prison city. Just embrace it, man. That's what people come here for. That's like prison pizza. Cool. Like that's what people are going to come there, because they're going to see the old prison. Like they're going to stop, you know, if they're doing a big drive across I-90 and they say, oh, that's kind of unique. Oh, and then right next door, there's a prison pizza. We should try that out. You know, make a prison themed brewery, like lean into what gets people there and you'll probably get more people there. And then just look around and what's missing, you know, what's missing in the Tri-County area. So you need people to be passionate and to also be creative and find those avenues that aren't there. So I say, lean into what people say you are instead of trying to fight it. And, you know, no, that's not Deer Lodge. We're better than that. Just lean in, embrace what you are, and you'll probably make more money, you know? So be creative, embrace what you are, and look for opportunities that other people maybe aren't willing to do.
And I really hope that our listeners over in the Republic of China are taking a lot of this to heart. You guys got a lot of potential over there.
Yeah, and the good news, we're going Jay Morris. You can speak directly to our Canadian audience.
So I think that everyone kind of hit a good point, like passion, taking pride, like a sense of purpose in your community, like knowing that everything takes time. You have to invest, whether it be financially, just time, willingness to help, volunteer, what it is. But like for the whole prison city thing, I feel like Mark's right. Like, as a community, a lot of people don't lean into it. But I'll take it back. My granddad, I went to high school here in the 50s. And the one saying he told me going into high school was, from a horse's ass to a Cal City, we're the boys from the prison city. And a little humor with it, but the concept is like, be proud of where you came from. Like, I don't know why you're ashamed to be from here, because I know people I went to school with, they like kind of give you like a little stink eye over it. And it's like, you came from here. This kind of like, you learned a lot of life lessons here. You go like learn stuff other places and eventually bring it back, but you don't have to. But I mean, just take pride in a sense of purpose. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're from a prison city. Woo! So are millions of people across America. Like, you just happen to be the one in Montana. Makes it a little unique.
Yeah, and thank you for that comment, Jay Marsh and Mahones and everybody on the show. One last wrap up question as we're wrapping things up.
Oh my gosh. If we're going for 3 hours, let's start this earlier.
It's the final wrap up question. If you want to not,
we got Darth Vader in the corner now. Look at him.
I might join him.
All right.
Get some 8 Mile going here.
This is honestly the final question. It does not lead to any other questions at all. So my problem is I listen to these a lot of city councils and whatnot, and what I hear is a lot of small man ideas where it's like, oh, well, we'll just put an antique shop here, and that's the best thing to do. That's what we're gonna do. And my proposal is just like sales and Mahogany knows this, you can't compete. You just can't. You have to look to dominate. And I say, let's put a giant fucking casino in Deer Lodge, Montana, and just go right for it and go for the big win and get people in here and do the right thing and rebuild. The casino brings tax revenue. It brings everything in. It brings people and everything in. It brings people to more churches. It brings people to everything. Why not bring a big ass fucking casino, plant it right in Deer Lodge, Montana? Oh, the prison's out of town. Oh, the prison. Oh, fuck the prison. You know what? The best choice is, guess what? They go to the casino, they go to jail, and then they go right to the prison. Let's bring a big ass casino here. And final thoughts on this, and we're going right out because this is not a big discussion at all. All right, Tony.
Wow. A casino, huh? I guess I have.
We have 8 of them, don't we?
No, like a big one.
He's
with
talking
table
big.
games. Like
Big.
you call
Big
you call it
motherfucker.
you call it the big house, you know, like a prison, and then
Beautiful.
Big house wins.
big house wins. The dealers are in, like, depending on the card game, you know, they're in orange or maybe they're in stripes. Like, come on, get out of town.
Orange
I'm
is
coming to
the new
that.
black, baby. No, Pat, that's a great point. Going big. You know, I think that this community could use some big business moving in here to help stimulate things. Obviously, there's various different aspects involved with that. You know, when big businesses look to prospect an area, for a place to call home. You know, obviously you have to have available housing, things like that. Right now, our town's hurting in that avenue. We need more housing here. Surprisingly, we've made tons of jokes, you know, throughout this podcast in regards to this place being a shithole and in prison city and this and that, yada yada yada. So you know, but besides that point, we actually have quite a bit of people that have moved to Deer Lodge. I mean, it is harder and harder to find housing here. It's a continual issue. Only problem is the housing rates keep going up, but there ain't the jobs to compete with it. There isn't the pay to compete with it.
Just cut you off. Sorry, Tony, just to cut you off real quick. I agree with that when the housing rate's going up and stuff. Like I've been looking at housing in Deer Lodge for my family for years, and I could not believe the fucking prices. Like, are you serious? This is a price, but the jobs are like nil. Anyways, go ahead.
And the point I was getting at there in regards to the prices of the housing and the jobs around here, we could actually use some reasonable size enterprise here that would offer better pay. Okay, and it might actually force some of these other places to consider boosting their pay and paying their employees well. I've heard people bitch and complain that they can't retain people, or they can't retain good people, or, you know, the good people are up and leaving this and that. Well, you look at what it costs to live here. Okay, you expect Joe Blow to provide for his family of 4 on $2,000 a month, but yet right now where the market's at, this industry is booming and soaring, and it costs a shit ton of money to buy products out of this industry. So shouldn't that be compensated back to those workers there? Okay, maybe we can boost up the quality of living for those workers through wages, you know, help offset the price of the housing costs. I agree, Pat. I'm not going to ramble too much longer on this. I do think we need some bigger enterprise in here, and it just takes, you know, people with some cojones willing to step up and challenge other people, you know, and say, hey, you know, you need to start looking at the bigger picture, you know.
I like all your points there. It's like, is Deer Lodge becoming fucking rich land where it's like, okay, it's a great place, great destination, but there's just a small minority of people that can actually afford to live here. And we had these people who are coming in from California, New York, everywhere else. They're buying up houses, they're doing all this stuff. But there is a concern to me where it's like, is this place just becoming rich land? It's like a offshoot of like fucking Seattle, where it's like, okay, small population, very great housing, a very high quality of life, but very few people can afford that. And it, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that kind of what you're saying in a little bit?
I guess to a sense, you know, I see us on a slippery slope right now, is what it is essentially. You know, people are having a harder time making ends meet, you know, but regardless, costs still continue to drive up. To buy a 3-bedroom home in this town right now, you know, you're probably looking anywhere from 130 to 140,000 and up, you know, and that 130, 140,000, that's probably kind of a shithole fixer upper right now, you know.
Yeah, no, like, because I've been job where I work full time now. Like, I've been looking at housing, and it's like, I'm just trying to find a nice place that's livable right now. I'm not going to have to go in and do anything. And you're still looking at 150 just to like live 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And it's like, there's houses on Milwaukee that they're asking like 340 for. And it's like, it's a 4 bedroom, 1 bath, like thousand, like, this is not a $300,000 house, but it's what the market's asking. There's no like housing competition, which you are absolutely correct at this town.
That's the crazy part, is that a lot of people don't understand, is that the housing in Deer Lodge, you think, oh, this can be cheap as fuck. It's not. It's terrible. The prices are terrible. The market's very hard. I don't know who they're targeting for these houses or whatever. That's why I'm saying that Deer Lodge is almost turning into rich land city, where it's like, okay, make a shitload of money, move here, guess what? In a couple of years, we're gonna be a fucking Class C school. That's reality. We're gonna be fucking doing 6-man football on the field. Mahogany, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I know a few real estate people in Montana, and ever since COVID hit, there's all, like you mentioned, Californians, New Yorkers that were buying property sight unseen just because, like, hey, COVID, we want to get out of the big area that's got COVID. So they were just, and they're buying plots of land, just thinking, hey, we can work from home now. Let's just go somewhere where we're away from all these people. You know, we don't have traffic.
Exactly.
And so yeah, they're not really thinking like I'm making a vacation home and not like, you know, having a home or thinking about raising my kids here. So it's not great. I mean, that's the one downside of being Montana being like the best place to be, right? And Deer Lodge is a gorgeous valley. If anyone's ever been there, like you can shit on it all you want. It's gorgeous valley. So once you actually are like, oh wow, this is nice. People here pretty cool. And then it screws the people who actually want to raise a family there. So it's not ideal.
Yeah, before I kick to you, Kelly, Mahoney makes a very good point here. It's like there's a lot of people that are coming into town, and they're great people. They want to escape though, so they're not really investing in the local economy. They're not adding anything. They're actually raising the housing prices and stuff, and they're making Deer Lodge what a lot of people don't want it to be is just a place for a bunch of rich people to come here and live and stuff. And it just sucks to see that kind of happening because people that actually grew up here knew what the truth is about Duras and everything else. But anyways, Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I just think property needs to be bought up by locals and people that actually want to make a life here, not just a vacation home. You know, we have 100,000 creative ideas. Unfortunately, we're not, you know, millionaires or billionaires that can just buy it, like Mahoney said, sight unseen. But we need to do our part, and we have, you know, talking to some of these Rock Creek guys and stuff like this about actually bringing business here so the economy can support it with, you know, taxes and everything else like that. But yeah, it's scary. I mean, Marissa, my fiance, and we've looked at 5 different houses, getting ready to sign papers and everything, and then it's like the next day or 2 days later, oh yeah, no, it's gone. It's fucking gone. I was like, are you kidding me? And these aren't even like that nice of places. It's kind of a scary thing. But your original point, giant casino, I've always thought that's a good idea. I don't care what you think about it, but that brings a shit ton of commerce into the city, and you're going to have crime no matter what you do. There's crime here right now. Why not just have crime, but have, you know, millions or billions of dollars of tax revenue?
Yeah, I want to make one point that Mahoney made here, and this goes to Tony and J Marsh, whoever. If you go out, you grew up in Deer Lodge, it's a hard place, whatever. But if you go out and you travel the world, and you travel the different places. Like I've been up to, I've seen most parts of real fucking Alaska. I've been to Pittsburgh. I've been to all these different cities and everything else. And I will tell you this for a fucking fact. Deer Lodge is a gold mine. You wake up every day, there's a beautiful fucking mountain in your face. It is the most beautiful place you could possibly imagine to grow up in. And we don't realize that we all grew up here. But I'm telling you right now, people are going to come in and they're going to take it from you because they appreciate what you don't appreciate. And most people in Deer Lodge, unfortunately, sit there and take it for granted. We live in the most plush valley. It's amazing valley. The scenery is amazing. You can go up in the hills every single day and do whatever you want. Again, I went to rural Alaska. It's a bunch of hills, tundra, and everything else. But the richness of living in the lower 48 in Deer Lodge, there's a lot of people that are looking, and that's where they come from, California, New York, everywhere else. They're looking at like, oh my God, this is a fucking treasure. How could people just sit there and act like this is just, oh, this is just, I got this. This is fine, you know. Anyways, Mahogany, weigh in on that.
No, I mean, I think, like I said, it's a gorgeous place. We're going to have to turn this into a 2-part episode.
3-part.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I I probably took it for granted a little bit, and then I moved away, and now I love coming home, and just one, because it's home, but then two, it's gorgeous, man. It's there's obviously a lot of great memories, but it's just a very pretty place to be.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's wrap this up right now. Go around the table one last time, and everyone has their last statements here, and then we'll wrap this thing up tonight. Let's go with Tony. Talk about the semen at the prison from my cousin's fucking. Here we go.
All I got to say is writing Old English on the wall. It's not as easy as it seems. And now you know the rest of the story.
All right, J Marsh, your last statements.
This is a fun episode. A lot of good conversation. Tony, thanks for coming on, staying up late. I know you got kids, work in the morning like the rest of us, except Pat. But
I'll be following you into work probably.
Yep, probably. It was fun. Glad we could do it.
All right, Mahogany.
Good chat, everyone. If anyone's stuck in until the very end, thanks for listening. Make sure you give us the 5 stars now that we're on Apple. Like us, tell your friends. If you don't like us, also tell your friends. I'm going to continue to tell you to do that. And honestly, if you don't like us and you made it to this episode and this far, fuck you.
And Kel, all your final thoughts here tonight.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Savalla. Thanks for coming on here. A lot of good memories brought up about the Cutler Brothers Theater and our past and everything, and a good conversation there at the end about the housing and economy of Deer Lodge. And yeah, that's about it. Looking forward to next week. My bachelor party's this weekend, so if you want to call me, just don't. I'm going to be balls deep in stripper tits.
Oh, now a stripper joke hits. Okay.
Too early in the night. The club wasn't open yet.
That's on me. That's on me.
Tassels and glitter. Tassels and glitter.
All right, guys, good show tonight. I think it was a lot of fun tonight. We had a lot of fun. Talked about a lot of things. I just want to make a very special shout out to our friends here in Chile that watched tonight's show.
Chile?
The chili.
The chili. All right, let's talk about that chili for a second, Mahoney.
No, let's not.
All right, very good show tonight, guys. A lot of fun. We're gonna sign off here finally. Hopefully, wherever you're watching this podcast, have a lot of fun, know more about Deer Lodge, Montana, and invest in it. Save us, please save this town.
Next week, join us for COVID Part 3, the discussion.
I learned the big thing I learned about this podcast is this so far is like, we could go on about theater forever on this show, forever.
Mhm.
A lot of topics we go on forever. This show is supposed to be about fucking politics, but I had 3 politicians decline me to be on this show. 3 in a week.
So we'll get them in the future.
Yeah, I thank you very much, Tony, for being on the show. You made the show. It was a lot of fun. Any last words?
No, it was great. I hope you guys will have me back sometime. Really enjoy the conversation. So
Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Rock and roll. See you guys next week.
all right.
Deuces.
Good night,
Take care, brothers.